The culture thinks the studio has a woman problem.
I may have done a sexism once, but I've always wanted to make a feminism. How did I miss this?
If anything, it's probably my fault.
In a way, yes.
The franchise is incredible. It's a brilliant workplace comedy that shows us the inner workings of the superhero big budget movies, and it has a fantastic cast. You guys are absolutely incredible. Daniel, first question I have for you is, in the franchise, you portray visionary director Eric. What attracted you to the role of Eric in the franchise, and were there any specific aspects of the character or story that you resonated with?
It resonated with me deeply because of various reasons. I mean, obviously, I've been there. Although I didn't think that much of Marvel, I have to say. It would be, the obvious question that people ask me, but no, because they treated me so well. It was a well-oiled machine. I never encountered any total madness and craziness and absurdity and problems. A lot of sense of humor. The second time around, I revisited Zemo. I was even allowed to do something very different with the character, so I really couldn't complain ever.
Sure.
But I've done another film, not only one, but one in particular that I don't want to mention, was a total shit show. So the second I arrived, it was everything went wrong, and the ship sank dramatically. So that was a very painful and frustrating experience that I had to think about a lot. And then also I directed one film. Yep. Very small film, only a few people have seen, but I could tell what it means to be the captain of a ship, to be responsible for the whole thing, and having to answer all these questions and cope with all these problems that can come up. And so, when I read this, I thought, like, great. And on top of it, I mean, I've been waiting for a good comedy material for my whole life, coming from Germany,
Right.
Where this is not our forte. So when that came along, and I thought, Jesus, I mean, I can work with the best of America and England, and I will, have the pleasure to be working with guys like Jessica Hynes and Richard E. Grant and Himesh Patel and Lolly and all these guys, and then the triangle of greatness, as in the creators Sam Mendes, Armando Iannucci, and John Brown, was a total gift. So
absolutely, that's a sign me up if I ever heard one. Jessica, I used to work as a set PA. That's how I kind of got my start in this industry, and so I kind of feel where Steph is coming from at times. Can you talk to me about who Steph is as a character, and what role does she play as the assistant to the visionary director Eric?
Okay, so Steph as a character is somebody who's really, really good at her job. She loves her job. She loves being on set. She's actually a script supervisor. So she's, even though she sometimes kind of acts as in a PA role,
sure.
To Eric, her real focus is making sure that whatever is in the script gets on camera and gets in the can. So that's the main kind of objective of a script supervisor. That means monitoring the lens size, the number of shots, the shots the director likes, and the shots that are needed to complete a scene. So her responsibility is to make sure what's on the page gets in the can. And she loves the job. It's her life, and she's really, really good at it. So I think that she kind of is her job in a way. I mean, as a character, she's quite odd in some ways. She's quite an oddball, I would say. And like a lot of people who aren't in front of the camera but behind the camera, there's a kind of invisibility to her. So she doesn't kind of really, no one's really looking at her, no one's really paying her much attention. She just kind of does her visibility is the job she does. And in that invisibility, she can kind of just sort of bimbles around the set, really. Obviously focusing on Eric and making sure that he's happy and he's getting what he needs. But also, as you can see, I don't know how many episodes you've seen, but her her attention is wandering towards, one of the supporting artists, who's a kind of CGI mollusk man. And then you begin to wonder kind of what else might be going on in Steph's life, and maybe a little bit of it, maybe just a tiny bit of a midlife crisis, just a little one, maybe, or at least beginning to bloom, perhaps. But, but she is one of those people who's married to her job. She loves her job, and she loves her team, and she loves being good at what she does. I would say that's the sort of, That's
Incredible. Now, Daniel, I think this is such a fascinating view of the inside of filmmaking. In what ways do you think the franchise will resonate with both movie industry insiders and the general audience?
I think what I found very clever in the whole concept of the show is that you see the whole thing through the eyes of the guys who themselves are really committed comic fans and film buffs, you know, and that is the truth. And that is what I experienced, for example, also at these Marvel crews. They're these guys who at the end of the day don't get the credit, really, and don't end up on the red carpet and are not being paid tons of money, but they do it out of, you know, their passion for it. And they're incredibly dedicated. So this is also a big part of that of the show, and a deeply endearing element to it. So it's not just a satire about, you know, the absurdity of these movies, but you know, about all these hundreds and thousands of committed movie fans who actually work in that business. And I hope that, as you know, tragic as some of these moments are in this show, that won't stop people from dreaming to work in the movie industry.
Absolutely. Jessica, I have a question for you, because this is the 20th anniversary with Shaun of the Dead. It's one of my favorite films. I literally just got done watching it. How do you ever reflect back on that experience working on that film, and what impact do you think it had on your career overall?
I don't think. Well, I mean, what I remember about that film is we were in the last. I was on set. And because I play Yvonne, and I remember we were outside the pub, and I remember thinking, I think I even said to Eric, I even said to Edgar, I think you're missing a shot. And he was like, what? I said, you're missing a shot. He was like, whatever, no. And then 6 months later, we were coming back and we had to completely rebuild the pub because he had missed the shot.
Wow.
So, and it was the shot of me with the golf club, like standing. It was an iconic shot that would have needed to sort of like piece the whole last sequence together. So maybe that's kind of a bit of a precursor to me as a script supervisor.
You know, I feel like
that. You know, what preceded Shaun of the Dead was Spaced. Yeah. Which was the series that I wrote with Simon. So in a way, you know, I don't think Shaun of the Dead would have happened without Spaced, and I created Spaced. So, you know.
Incredible. I feel like that story is something that's completely ripped out of the franchise. I feel like that story could be in the franchise. Now, the last question I have for you guys is, look, Sam and John are absolutely incredible. I'm so happy they created this show. Can you talk about working with them as collaborators on this project?
Yeah. I mean, you asking me?
Both of you, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they were sort of incredible, really. I mean, they're such amazing sort of, you know, writers and creatives. You know, they're incredible. So everything, you know, you kind of really have an appreciation of what was happening immediately before we started filming, which was this kind of like long run up to you know, filming, and the amount of work and the amount of effort that they put into actually kind of like writing the series and creating the series and creating these characters. So we're kind of jumping in really kind of in the middle of that creative process that they've created. And you know, once we all jumped in the pilot week, you know, you just hit the ground running, and you know that you're in the middle of this massive, like incredibly sort of energized kind of creative environment. And everyone was just like on their absolute A game, wanting it to be the best it could be.
Well, it is absolutely
the most beautiful curly hair I've seen in my life. And then he always does this. And you, when you saw him doing this, you knew that he was thinking of a better joke, you know. And actually, from the first draft on, you know, the jokes were fantastic, but he was never happy. It was just, he kept on thinking about, you know, improving every single joke, every single line, you know, and we always do this. So I was very happy when I saw him doing this, because I knew he would 5 minutes later he would come up with an even better scene. So
yeah.
I love that. Well, look, you guys are hilarious in this. It's a fantastic show that has a lot of heart. Thank you guys so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to fire the sound man.
Okay, you can't do that.
He's wearing the indoor scarf. I thought only directors wear the indoor scarf. Is he mocking me?